Welcome back, everyone, to the Pokémon Podcast. My name, as usual, is Birdkeepertoby, and unusually, I'm joined today by Heen7 and Troops and Trip Trop, our lovely guest. I think Perfect. I got that right. Did I do that right?
Yeah,
I think I did.
Amazing. Good job.
Yeah, definitely.
As always, before we get into these people who honestly don't sound very familiar to me, we are live on YouTube. Normally it would be Friday at 3 p.m. EST. However, we are doing a little cheeky, a little bit different today. It's a Sunday. We are 2 weeks prior to when we would usually release the edited episode on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and of course, right here on YouTube. So as soon as this live episode is done, you're going to be getting the live episode that we filmed 2 weeks ago. If you are a member here on YouTube, and we do have memberships available, there should be a button somewhere around your screen to become a YouTube member. You don't have to. It's always appreciated and never expected, but it is just an extra way for you to kind of engage more with the podcast if you are listening live, suggest topics and segments that we might talk about, questions we might want to ask the lovely Hoops in Hip Hop, that's his name, and of course, we will be sort of more interacting with you in the live stream during the actual podcast, and we might have some community polls just for you members. So again, never expected, but always appreciated, and it's somewhere around the live chat. I think I did an okay job of that. I don't think I messed up anything.
Yeah. Let Hoops talk. Hoops, say a word.
What's up, guys? And you know what? I'm actually gonna give a shout out really quick because I just saw
right at the beginning already wants to.
You did not waste your opportunity. No, you go for it. You use our platform, man. That's no problem. You head on. You give us that shout out. It's better be good, I swear.
How much are they paying?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I was just gonna say hi to my boy Lucas Gates because he kind of like is the man, and he apparently sports all of us. So
he does. Yeah, he is lovely. Yeah, fair play. That was a good one.
There's only like 4 more shout outs that I wanted to get in there. So
pace it well. Many. Every 15 minutes is good.
Ron, you can start playing music, right, to like usher him off. That's how that works.
I really do want to change the music, even though I love Cobalt Coastland, which is our theme song, I guess. I do want to change it to maybe something in Scarlet and Violet. What would you think is a nice calm theme from Scarlet and Violet? Maybe chat could help too. Like a calm theme from Scarlet and Violet that could be our new theme song. Or do you not want to change Cobalt Coastland because it's pretty good, honestly?
I do like the Cobalt Coastlands. Where's calm?
Because it has to be near the ocean, because like that's our graphic, right?
I guess, yeah.
Levincia is not calm.
No, that's high energy.
That's very nice. Oh wait, Cascarafa is not near the ocean, but I really like Cascarafa's theme. It's very chill, very nice. Toby's like, what the hell is that? I don't care about Pokemon.
I literally, you like saw my face, and you're like, he has no idea what theme I'm talking about. Dude, I know Area Zero and Area Zero. I could probably give you Nemona's. Like I can hear that little jingle.
Sing it. Dun, right now.
Dun, 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 dun,
that sounds like every Pokemon theme.
Yeah, I just.
But this is actually funny because we literally have someone who, from time to time, and for a lot of his career, has made Pokemon remixes. I do want to hear about that because I'm a huge, remix fan.
Hoops and Hip Hop is a music guy.
No, it's Toby. Toby is the one who makes remixes.
Right. Because they do the sing songs. No, I just stole all my work from you, Hoops. You're actually one of the first people I reached out to in the community, and it was a message of, hey,
really?
Your music is really cool, and like. I think like at the time there weren't like that many remixers who were like known. Like I know everyone knew the Glitch X City at the time, but I feel like I was just like, no, this is the vibe. This is what I really want. And so I reached out to you, and you were just kind enough to go like, yeah, use my music, go for it.
Yeah, I've actually been thinking a lot about that conversation lately because I honestly like owe you big time for doing that. Because at that point. I had my channel for like, I think it was maybe like a year and a half. And I was basically just sort of doing the remix thing, learning how to do the remix thing. And I was like on an island pretty much. I hadn't really talked to anyone at that point. And so you were the person through reaching out to me that day who kind of like ushered me into the group. Wow. And then I started talking to people, and that sort of like kicked things off for me. So I honestly owe you a lot.
Oh, well, what's your ad revenue like this month?
It's January. So.
It's January. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, look, I'll hit you up in December and you can let me know. That's awesome, man. No, I like that. No, genuinely though, like you added your music added such a feel, and like I really liked what you were doing, and yeah,
it is literally the sound of like golden age Birdkeepertoby is hoops and hip-hop.
Golden age. I've gone like, downhill since there, but yeah, no, I know what you mean though.
Age.
Like I hear that genuinely. I reserve it for special videos, but you have this remix of Professor Oak's Lab.
Theme,
And I save that for like really special videos because like I'm pretty sure that was like my first video was that music, and so like I saved that for yeah.
You made like a trailer, like I mean you literally just released a trailer now too, but like a trailer for your channel. I think was that your first video or was it like the Crystal Onyx thing?
It was a channel trailer. Yeah, it was
a channel trailer.
So if I remember rightly, when I started my channel, I love this. We've got a guest, and I'm like, so when I started, here's my origin story. It ties in. It's a crossover event. It was a buddy up movie. But when I started, I had like 2 or 3 videos that I was like halfway through editing that I was like, I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna do like a Pokemon theory and a top 10 and a video about me and some Pokemon card stuff and not people don't remember the Pokemon card stuff because I unlisted it really quickly because it just didn't do well. But I was going to do that, and so when I was about halfway done with the editing of 1 or 2 of the videos, I was like, all right, I think this is what the feel is. I'm now going to like make a trailer and sort of say to the world, hey, in 2 weeks I'll be here with some videos, so don't miss out. And yeah, that was like the first thing. It was like
not a good idea nowadays. That's not the strategy that is recommended.
No, definitely not. But I think the first fact that I ever gave on the channel, the first thing was like, did you know Azurill can change its gender when it evolves in Gen 3 because of programming? And it's just like a basic bit of trivia. Did you know this, Ron? You know about this?
No, I literally like tuned you out right now for the last sentence, and I didn't hear what you asked.
Well, you can listen. You can listen to the VOD back. But so yeah, I was just throwing out some trivia.
We didn't need the answer anyways.
And to give it that feel of like I'm going to be doing trivia and Pokemon lore, I was like, I should go for Oak's Labs theme, and I guess that's what I must have. That must be what I looked up. And I think I also was doing a video about Slowbro or Slowking, and I was like, the surf theme was needed. And you, Hoops, had just released like I guess like an album of the various Hoenn tracks, because ORS had just come out, right?
Oh yeah, a lot of people were doing Hoenn stuff back then. That was fun.
That's what I was doing.
But sorry, I keep on talking over you, but I do associate you with like Johto themes. Now that I think of it, like every like theme that I think of yours that I at least saved and listen to all the time, I think is Johto.
Well, Johto stuff, I mean, I like Johto. It's Heart Gold, Soul Silver, one of my favorite games, and Johto's one of my favorite regions in general. But some of my more like popular remixes do come from Johto, because like for whatever reason, I did a Cianwood City remix like forever ago, and consistently it is like been my number one like most played remix on Spotify, and it's just like always there at like the top of the leaderboard. And I don't really get it because it's like it was so long ago that I made that, but it's like been consistently popular. And then I have like a Goldenrod City one that
the Goldenrod City is what I use all the time.
I use that one. That's a good one. Saffron City Jazz remix as well, actually.
But the Heart Home one, Heart Home is the one that I listen to the most, I think.
Yeah, that's another classic one. It's funny because like I can remember like all of these ones you're mentioning are older remixes of mine, and so like thinking back on it, I can remember kind of like when I was in the moment making those.
I mean, we'll go through like your entire channel's timeline, but actually let's go even way back. I don't know much about your daily life, your childhood. I don't know, like what was your upbringing like? Was it normal? Maybe you had a weird childhood.
I mean, yeah, it was good. Like usually you want like some like super eventful like movie-esque storyline.
Yes, give us one.
This sort of situation. But like my upbringing in childhood was really good, and therefore it was like I guess uneventful in that way. Like it was awesome. I obviously had a lot of Pokemon in it from like pretty much like right away. Like I don't know what the first video game I ever played was, but I basically say it was a tie between Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and Pokemon Yellow when I was like 5 years old. Because I know it was like both of those.
Snap.
Like,
wait, how old are you?
I am 28.
28. So yeah,
Snap.
Toby.
Yeah.
Literally. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah,
wait, when's your birthday?
Toby's like, it's in July.
So close.
So you're like a few.
I'm April,
older
yeah.
than me.
I'm August, so he's close. He's closer to me. I win. But I mean, did you have siblings or anything? Like, is your video or like just media in general influenced by anybody or?
Yeah, I would say it does get influenced by my family from time to time. I have a brother and a sister, and I'm the middle. And whenever I say that, people are always like, "Oh, so you're the forgotten child, right?" And my answer is always like, "No, like." Nah. I don't know why everyone always asks me that whenever I say I'm the middle child. And my parents are awesome. So they give us all equal attention.
Usually the middle one is the most well-rounded, I think. So, I mean, are you the most well-rounded?
I would actually say that because I've always thought of myself as sort of like a combination in terms of personality between my brother and my sister, because I have an older sister and she's like more shy and quiet and reserved, but then I have a younger brother and he's honestly like loud and just like really energetic and I'm kind of in the middle where I'm like, I wouldn't say I'm shy, but I'm not like super energetic in that way. I always call myself like an extroverted introvert where I'm like on the line, but I'm also like, I definitely like to keep myself a little more at the same time.
Well, I guess it's because like the older child usually has the more strict upbringing, has more responsibility usually. So it's like, okay, they're going to act a little more, less crazy, less erratic. And then the youngest usually gets the least amount of reprimanding. But like it's literally the opposite, not opposite for me, but for example, my sister, who's the youngest child of three, she had allergies as a kid, so she was babied like crazy, like she was very much protected, so she like reverted back to like my setting. Like, so she's more like me than she is like my brother, and so it's like it's not like that classic setup like your family apparently has, because that really is exactly, your family is exactly how I hear the normal 3-child setting is. Okay, that's really cool. So I mean, do they enjoy the same kinds of stuff that you do, or vice versa?
Yeah, we're actually like, we get along really well, and we do enjoy a lot of the same stuff. So they're not as like full on into Pokemon as I am, but they do like keep up with it and play the games and stuff. And
really?
We're all yeah. So like we're all it's actually funny now that I think about it. My brother, he's like, so he plays the games, but he's like really casual. And so we were talking like during Christmas time, like I asked him, what do you want for Christmas? And he brought up, I'd like Pokemon Scarlet, because he hadn't got it or played it yet. And he was like, I really liked Sword and Shield. And I was like sitting there for a second, and I was kind of surprised he said that, because as a casual player, I thought he might not like Sword and Shield as much. And I was like, if you like Sword and Shield, then you're really going to like Pokemon Scarlet. So I got that for him for Christmas.
First, not in Toby's case.
Yeah.
Right. And that might be something we'll have to talk about a little bit later.
But I mean, no, I think casual people very much enjoy modern Pokemon.
I think they enjoy it more. I think it's the opposite. Yeah, I agree. I think it's the opposite.
Well, yeah, it's funny because as Poketubers, we look at every sort of like move Pokemon makes under the microscope, and all we hear really is stuff from other hardcore Pokemon fans in terms of like criticism or whatever.
Same.
But like when you take a person like my brother, who is like not involved in the community, he's just a guy who likes the Pokemon games, who will play them. It's a very different experience, to where I think like all that criticism that Sword and Shield got, it's like he wasn't involved in that. He didn't hear about that. So he's just playing the game and taking it for what it is. And I think that actually makes a huge difference.
Sounds so healthy.
To be fair, I am, it definitely is healthy. And I wish I was like that. But I mean, I am like that. That's what I was going to say, where it's like, I am a casual player. I'm a expert Pokemon fan, or whatever. I'm a professional Pokemon fan, and I love Pokemon more than the average, but as a player itself, I am definitely casual. So like, for example, when the Pokedex, the National Dex controversy was out, like, I think just like me, most people were like, that doesn't really affect me that much. So like a lot of the problems that modern Pokemon games have, I just unfortunately do not really. Fortunately for me, but unfortunately for my audience, I don't respond to all these negative things. It doesn't really affect me that much, and therefore I get a lot of criticism for it, honestly, because like when you have a platform, you're supposed to like talk about the negatives and stuff, and I do sometimes, especially in my review. But it's like I'm not going to talk about the negatives if they literally don't negatively affect me. So I do have that glimpse of or this perspective of a casual player, so I get it. That's interesting.
I'm really I can like relate to that too, because I am very easy to please when it comes to the games. There has to be something that's like really bad for me to just like genuinely not enjoy it. There will be things about the games that I'm like, oh, this could be better, or I would have preferred this thing to be a little bit different. But like you said, with the dex cut and like big stuff that people like to sort of complain about and talk about, I'm just like, yeah, I don't care. Like I just like getting into the world, like, doing the whole catch Pokemon battle gym leaders thing, and that's what makes me happy. So it doesn't take too much to get me to enjoy the games.
And did you ever have like a period where you maybe fell off of Pokemon or anything, or were you just playing it straight through?
I mean, for the most part, straight through, in terms of the games anyway. So basically, my Pokemon upbringing was played Gens 1 and 2 and 3. 3 was actually pretty big for me. And then it was like right around like the Gen 3 to 4 time frame was when I started getting really into Yu-Gi-Oh! And so Yu-Gi-Oh! Sort of took over in terms of like the show specifically. I was like, oh, I don't watch the Pokemon anime, I watch Yu-Gi-Oh! And there was like that kind of phase. But
that's a classic. That is a classic of being a teenager and like changing over and like, I'll trade all my Pokemon cards for Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. I'm never going to like Pokemon again. And then inevitably finding yourself back up with Pokemon. I feel like I did like 3 times in my childhood.
It was, it's pretty ironic because I was like, in my childhood, I would say I was like, when I was like 8 to 10 to 12, I would say I was way more of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan than I was a Pokemon fan. But I never missed the Pokemon games either, because I got Yellow and I got Silver somehow. I was too young to remember when I got them. But then I got Gen 3. I got a Game Boy Advance SP with Pokemon Ruby for Christmas one year. And that was like core memory moment. It was so awesome. And then even though I wasn't like all about Pokemon every single day, I would still get the games when they came out. So I got Gen 4 right around its release. I remember going to get Black and White. I pre-ordered that one, so I got that when it came out. And then Gen 6 and onwards, it was like when I was in the YouTube era, so I was like all over it by then. So I had like my more sort of more fanatical moments, I guess you could say, and my less fanatical moments about Pokemon. But I was always kind of like keeping tabs and like playing the games and stuff.
But go on.
I mean, you go first.
Well, I was just going to ask, so was there a point, because obviously when you started doing YouTube, you were doing Pokemon remixes, I think some Zelda remixes. You weren't doing Yu-Gi-Oh! Remixes. I just wonder...
Is there any famous Yu-Gi-Oh! theme?
There's some cool... there's the Yu-Gi-Oh! theme.
Not the Yu-Gi-Oh! theme.
But there's a couple. There's like the God cards get played and Celoid Calcos. But all of that being said, was there a point where you were like... Because I remember for me around that time, there was that moment of like, oh, I don't just like Pokemon. Like, this is actually like a really big thing for me. Did you go through something like that when you made your channel, or after you made your channel, or before?
So, I mean, as far as Yu-Gi-Oh, like the English dub of Yu-Gi-Oh has amazing music.
Yeah.
I've never delved into doing the remixes, but it does. As far as like my channel though, I was kind of just, it all started because I was kind of into music and like learning how to make music before that. But then I started discovering the thing that really kicked it off for me, that just like blew my mind and made me want to like do something like this, was when I found Braxton Burks.
Yeah.
Pokemon Reorchestrated. And I was listening to his Kanto Symphony album, and then I was like, he did a video with Jaywitz, who was another big influence of mine, and he was like interviewing him. And at some point in the interview, Braxton mentioned that they were like, his arrangements were like samples, so it was like not live music, and I had not like heard about that like technology, I guess, or that you could do that to that point. I didn't know about that. So when I heard that was basically something he made on the computer, I was just like, what? And then he was like going into how his album had just come out on iTunes and stuff, and I was just like mind blown at what he was saying, and I was like, that is what I want to do. Like, that sounds like the coolest thing ever. And so that's kind of how I got into pursuing remixes. And
wait, so that's originally like you pursuing remix was literally how you also started pursuing just liking music in general, obviously at a higher level?
Yeah, I would say so. I did have like a really, I would say, like keen interest in music in general before that, because that kind of started earlier on when I was a teenager. But by the time I sort of got to about my last year in high school, I sort of I got more interested in the producing side of it, because I was in this TV broadcasting class where we were on computers all the time and doing like video editing stuff. Nice. And that was kind of like the pre-genesis of sort of like getting my foot in the door as far as doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And that kind of like got my interest in it. And then I kind of just took it from there when I discovered the YouTube world a little later on.
So like the first remixes that you were putting out on YouTube, those were also just your first remixes in general, or just like...
Yeah. So when I started my channel, a lot of people, they'll start their channel with some kind of like background behind them, to where they've like figured out what they want to do. They've had a plan. They know what they're doing. That was not the case for me at all. I was just like, hey, this is something I want to do. I'm going to start my channel at the exact same time. And so my channel is quite literally a timeline of me figuring out how to do all this stuff and learning it on the fly. Like, I would learn enough to make the first video I currently have on my channel, in terms of how old they are, is this Pallet Town remix. And it's a remix is a generous term, because it's literally just me like punching out the tune, like the main melody of Pallet Town, just on my keyboard, and not even on like a piano, like digital keyboard, like on my actual computer keyboard. I was just like messing around basically.
Wait, but did you have any music background in terms of making music, or you literally learned how to play piano through this?
No, in terms of producing, I didn't, but I did had a little bit of music background, because I had like taken guitar, and I hadn't had a music class until a little later after, but I had a little bit, but not a lot. Like, in terms of digital music, I was learning it all on the fly. And the reason why I kind of, in retrospect, have like kept it that way and haven't like done anything with those videos was because when I was learning how to do all this stuff, I was kind of looking around for some reassurance that I could do it. So like, I remember going to Pokemon Reorchestrated's channel, which existed at the time.
Yeah. I remember I was on the bus when it like went down and I was panicking. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. But I remember going, and I would like just dig and go to the oldest video they had, because I wanted to see what it was like for him when he didn't have as much experience. And for the most part, what I was finding was that like people's videos, they were presenting their best selves out to the public. Basically, they didn't have really any of the basically like practice stuff, and that kind of like discouraged me in a way, because I was trying to get some like validation that I could actually get better and make this happen. And so I told myself from the beginning, if I actually make this happen for myself, I'm going to leave my sucky stuff there so people can see that it does get better if you work on it. And so that's kind of why I've just left all of my old, not as good stuff alone and left it there, because I want people to see that like you can do this if you like work at it.
Well, I honestly, this is a kind of inspirational for me, and some people in the chat are saying the same. Like, I really did think that you were like already like an experienced remixer at the time. So, I mean, that's cool.
I was literally just, I would kind of just mess around, and I would learn enough to make one remix. I'd put it out and then I'd mess around some more. I'd learn a few more things and then I'd put out the next one. And that's honestly just how I did it. And then I sort of started getting into the idea of like doing projects. So I did like that Hoenn remix project when Oraz came out. I did when I was earlier on, I was doing kind of, my plan was just to do like Nintendo stuff. I wasn't necessarily going to focus on Pokemon, but then like the Pokemon stuff was what sort of like had the success. And so I went in that direction.
Like, like you were outputting both, I assume, at like a very like small.
Yeah. I was, I kept it pretty even, I would say. But I think the Pokemon community, in terms of just like the viewers, they just became more aware of me because Toby obviously like reached out to me, and so I got involved in the Pokemon community through that, and that is right around the time when I started doing like actual regular videos, because I had an interest in that, not only like to do them, but I also was interested in terms of like growing my channel that way. So I started reaching out to people for collaborations in videos, and it kind of just like spiraled from there.
Interesting. I feel like there was like quite definitive point for you where you almost like not stop doing remixes. I know you still do them from time to time, but like certainly like it went from being like 99% of your uploads to really like 2% of your uploads, while 99% of your uploads then became you doing the kind of like the trivia and the top 10s of the Pokemon theories, and kind of, and really honestly very consistently since then uploading at a really high frequency. And actually you've just hit 300,000 subscribers, correct?
Really?
Yeah, it was like
congratulations
basically at the beginning of the month. Thank you.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a huge way to start 2023. And yeah, and I'm not bitter or jealous or anything. Like, it's fine. It's fine. You know, it's
you helped. It was your fault.
Yeah. But it's whatever. It's, you know, it's not a race or anything. But like 300,000, so 275. It's basically the same.
Toby,
where was I going with that? Sorry.
If you want anytime like you want cross promotion or collab or whatever, like you are my like
I wouldn't
brother.
No, I wouldn't bring myself down to that kind of. I mean maybe we could work something out, but that's fine.
I was thinking of also maybe collabing with you, Hoops and Hip Hop, because I'm trying to think, but like, I literally don't know what it would be.
Well, why don't you both just start a podcast together? Go on, just start a podcast. You can call it Clam Mind or Agitated Brain. Just go on, have a nice podcast together, be super successful. It's fine. It's whatever.
If you give us our blessing, then I guess.
You know, I mean, not to worry Toby, but I was actually thinking before the podcast that for all the other PokeTubers I have done like a legit collab with, me and Ron really haven't done one. We've done stuff together where like you've done stuff for my videos, I've done stuff for your videos where we have like cameo, but we haven't had that like traditional collab video.
To be fair, people just don't have traditional collabs anymore, which I want to do way more of. But
I miss that era. That was something that I feel. Again, I'm not gonna just take credit for everything going on in the hook, but genuinely, collaboration was something not happening in like 2015.
To be fair, I collabed with people before you even existed.
Well, that's what existed when I was in the womb.
Before you were a zygote.
Before I was even conceived, even though you're younger than me, you were collaborating with the other cells in you.
But no, you were the person collaborating the most and made it more of like a hip thing.
Yeah.
But which is weird that I forgot this, but like before I said like the Canalave remix, not the Canalave remix, but the Hard Home remix was the one that I listened to the most. But no, your Lacunosa Town remix actually changed my life, I think. You use like Arhu's, or I don't know what, maybe it was
Irhu?
Was it? Like, okay, so it really, because like that's what I associated with, and it was just genius. I don't know why I never thought of using air hooves for a Lacunosa Town remix. And I listen to it almost at least once every 2 weeks or something like that. It comes up in my shuffle.
Well,
I love it a lot.
Well, thank you. That's actually crazy because I do remember. That's another one I remember making, and that was one that I kind of felt like I was really excited about because I felt like it was something that I had something with that one.
It was special.
Yeah.
What other Pokemon remix has air hooves? Like,
so
I just.
For those,
it was kind of
except for the more
for those of us who are musically uninclined. Sorry, what's an air hooves?
I think it's a Chinese. Is it Chinese?
I don't know if it's Chinese or Japanese or what, but it's an Asian stringed instrument that is like kind of like a violin, but not really.
Okay.
But it's like similar in that you use a bow.
It's the Korra instrument.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
The Legend of Korra instrument. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
It sounds amazing. It's my favorite instrument, honestly. So like using my favorite instrument with my favorite theme, Lacunosa Town, was just, I don't know, it was perfect. I love it when people just know exactly what I want when they don't. But yeah, that was cool. So yeah, wait, how did your channel transition? Like, what was it like a natural? I mean, I know it was relatively natural, but was it like conscious, or was it like did you want it to be a natural transition, or were you like, no, let me stop making remixes and then?
No, so I did not plan. First of all, I definitely don't do remixes as often as I did back in the day. But with that said, I still have the same fondness for it. It's still something I want to be involved. And I have some remixes I've been sitting on that I'm gonna release when the time is right, when I find an open space in my calendar. But basically it started with the remixes, and then when I got introduced to Toby and got more into the community, I was like, I feel like doing videos would be a good way to sort of grow my channel and promote my music. Because my thought process was people who enjoy Pokemon videos are going to like listening to remixes. So I was doing videos as a way to grow my channel and also promote the music. And that's why, that's
a good strategy.
Yeah, that's when I started reaching out to people to collaborate with, because then I could just, obviously, that was the way to grow. And that is honestly still a good way to grow, even though people don't really do collabs that much anymore. But
also, Hoops, shut up for now. Lucas Gates, are live on the podcast with a guest that is precious to you too, Lucas. Our first member of the channel. That's pretty cool.
Thank you so much, Lucas.
That's Lucas is he's the GOAT. But
now you may continue talking. Now you have permission. Continue.
Thank you. So yeah, I had this sort of strategy that I was going to do these videos to promote my music. And what I ended up seeing after the fact was that the videos were doing good, but it wasn't necessarily translating over the way I wanted to the remixes. I was expecting a much higher turnout on the remixes than I got compared to what the videos were getting. And I wish that was kind of my first sort of, I guess, wake up call to the way YouTube can work sometimes in terms of just the algorithms and just dealing with how the site works.
What if you made the remix part of the video? For example, this is a bad idea, but it's not actual helpful advice, but there have been times where I'm like, I want to make, let's say, an acapella video, or I want to make a Pokemon rapper song or whatever, but what if I just made it an actual spectacle and not just I'm releasing a remix or whatever, or make it part of a video idea or something like that includes this theme in a major way. Yeah. I don't know.
Right. If you integrated it more heavily with an actual video, that's actually a good idea.
Just make a music video to the theme and that's it. I don't know. Even if it's
right.
remix.
Right. But yeah, that's basically what happened. Is I was seeing this I don't know, I was just seeing the videos were doing way better than the music, and it wasn't quite translating the way I was hoping and thinking that it would. And above all, my ultimate goal with my channel at the time was get to 100,000 subscribers, because I wanted that silver play button plaque. That was like my life's goal at the time, was to get that. And so I was going to do whatever I had to do to get that. And since I was seeing positive stuff with the videos, I kind of just like shifted my focus a little bit and started like basically just doing what worked for me. And that's kind of what my channel has been this whole time. Yeah, it's every channel. But
like I was gonna ask, like, why do you do the things you do? But it's more because like you did it, people liked it, and you continue doing it. Like that's literally your entire channel.
Yeah, and that's not to say that like I wish it would have turned out differently, because like I couldn't have asked for more in terms of how this whole journey has turned out. Like it didn't turn out the way I initially planned, with me like obviously being more music focused, but I actually think I prefer the way it's turned out now, because now I sort of have my toes dipped into a lot of different ponds and lakes to where I can do music, but I can do videos, and like I like having sort of variety that way.
I feel like that philosophy of you tried something, it worked, so you kept doing it and just advanced on that is like a real core part of your content creation philosophy as well. Like I feel like last time we talked, you specifically mentioned that like you see each video kind of building momentum into each other and kind of rolling into each other, and you don't want those videos that are gonna kind of break that momentum. And like I think that resonates with what you just said about you just do something, it works, keep doing more of that, give the people what they want, and it seems like you're really enjoying giving the people what they want.
Yeah, and that honestly has sort of just been what's dictated my channel. And the other thing that's dictated my channel, since you bring up the momentum thing, I always like, I want to bring with every video like the best video I can bring to people, which is obviously true of a lot of people, but I also want it to be valuable in the sense that it can sort of be something that can service growth, as opposed to videos that might be fun but kind of act as filler, because you don't, as a YouTuber, you don't want to feel like you're just like going through the motions and making like videos to sort of fill that time slot. Like I've always sort of had like, as I've been doing this, I'll have videos that are like, oh, that's a prime time video idea, so I'm going to put it in this special upload spot or whatever. And then you have videos that are like, oh, that's a solid video, but like it's not like the best one in the world, so it'll be like a weekday video or something like that. I basically just want to make all like prime time videos, and like that's not going to happen every single week or every single upload, obviously, but my goal is to just
that's really interesting. Do you actually actively upload on different days depending on what kind of video it is?
Yeah, so like for me, Saturday has always been like the primetime day for me. So I'll have my best videos go up on Saturdays, and then I've also uploaded. I upload on Tuesdays, and I've also uploaded on Thursdays in the past. And basically, I'll post kind of just whatever on those days, whatever I have available. But I definitely save the best videos for Saturday, because those have always worked for me.
It's really insane.
I also looked at it. It's kind of funny because I was just listening to your previous episode, and I decided that because I had this philosophy of like I kind of saw myself personally really liking watching YouTube on Saturday, because it felt like that Saturday morning cartoon sort of watching everyone's videos. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to do that, because then I'll be like everyone's like Saturday morning cartoon that they can like look forward to or whatever.
It really is the modern day Saturday. Like that's literally how kids interact with a lot of Pokemon content. But it really is underrated, the fact that I think other than Mr. Buddy, you are the first person to make a complete, or first PokeTuber to make a complete Fakemon region. Is that correct?
I think it is, because yeah, like you said, Mr. Buddy, he had
obviously at least a person
videos
with a following. There are probably some small guy that we may not have heard of.
I mean, at least that I'm aware of. I think that is what it is, and yeah, that's definitely.
We got a lot of mileage out of Mr. Buddy. He's a great guy, by the way. But like, you got out of his so he was like, he did a video, My Pokemon Gym. I then did like every type, and then everyone did that once. I'm now 2 years later, literally just now revisiting the topic. I'm going to go every type again. He then advanced from my type. He's like, I don't care. I'm doing my whole region. Beat that. And then you're like, I'm going to do a whole region. And then, Ron, you're like, I'll do a whole region. Loxton's, I'll do a whole... I'm like, I'll get in on that. So, I'll tell you what, this community has a lot to credit Mr. Buddy for.
Yeah. So, like, when I say, like, Mr. Buddy was the first... The thing is that Mr. Buddy's channel is all about making, speculative or Fakemon or his own region, while you were the first one whose channel isn't about that, or at least at the time, wasn't about Fakemon regions in general. So you were the first just normal PokeTuber to make a Fakemon region, I think.
Yeah, like, I definitely have Mr. Buddy to thank, and I'll always sort of, like, give him the credit where it's due. But the Pokemon Cardinal series definitely did sort of start that trend of, like, that is honestly kind of still going on where regular PokeTubers are making regions. And that's something I didn't even, like, when I was making that series, I didn't even, like, think that would be, like, a thing. You
really elevated it and took it to a new level, but I think people got really excited about, like, well, certainly I did, like, yeah, absolutely, like, Mr. Buddy might have started the idea, but, like, I really feel like you took it to that next level where everyone was like, now I want to do my take on that. I want to do my, you know what I mean? Yeah, you're right. People are still doing it today. I see Fakemon people doing all that kind of stuff all the time. Pragmagic, for example, and a bunch of others.
Before, like, you started the region, I was already making Fakemon at the time, but I didn't make my region yet. But I think other PokeTubers were like, okay, I can't make a Fakemon region if I don't make Fakemon myself, like Ron, for example, or like Mr. Buddy, whose entire channel is about Fakemon region. So I think you started it, and other PokeTubers were like, oh, okay, I guess if an average PokeTuber can make their own Fakemon region. I think that's probably the idea here.
Right, and it worked. The reception to it was great, and I love that it inspired so many people. But ultimately, my goal with that was just to, like, sort of like Toby said, like, make something that would, like, set a new standard. And I was honestly thinking for me and my channel, but it kind of ended up sort of applying to other people too, which was
you very kindly had me voice Professor Lawrence, and I had a lot of fun with that. He was great, and but other than that episode, I hadn't seen any until the final episode came out, and then I watched the whole thing over the course of about 3 days. I watched the whole thing, and I think it was like December 24th or something, where it was like Christmas Eve, and I finished it, and it was like that day I was like, I'm gonna message Hoops, I've got to do something like this. And I honestly, and I think I'm not just saying this, I think I did a really good job with Pokemon Tempest. It was a lot of work. I think yours was better. I think Pokemon Cardinal was like, it was just so well constructed. There was clearly, I think Pokemon Tempest is clearly like it's my take on your thing, and so there's a lot of emulation going on, whereas obviously yours is just, it's very inspired and organic, and I'm not saying that to put myself down. What I did was great. Just, I really think what you did was like, it was so beautifully creative, and I think that's why so many people resonated with it. It was great.
Yeah, yours was the best executed of like even like Loxton or mine or Toby's. Like mine was too short. Loxton's was big video, and like different. Like it was a completely different format than yours, for example. Yeah. Yours, I think, was the format everybody wanted to do, but either was too scared or thought because you don't want to release like 30 episodes and each video does worse than the last, right? So nobody wants to do that, but you did it because I guess you were not scared of that. But I don't know.
That's something that other people have like voiced concern to me about when I've talked to them about their own projects or whatever, and they've told me that sort of thing. And my approach with it was like, it was basically like I was inspired by what the things that Mr. Buddy did, but I had sort of a vision of how I wanted to format it, and that was basically telling the entire story of a game that you would like experience in a game, but just doing it in a video format. And so I wanted to kind of focus on that game experience and see it the whole way through, and sort of spice it up with like voice acting and things like that. And also and I still am, really into visual novels at the time because I was playing a lot of Ace Attorney back then.
Yeah.
And I love those games. And so I wanted to sort of emulate that style because those games and that kind of like way of storytelling sucked me in like so well. And so I kind of wanted to do that sort of thing with Pokemon too. And yeah, it worked out really well. And the other thing I really enjoy about it is that it is one of those things that even though it's been a few years now, you can still like you can pick it up as if you were picking up a TV show and watch it through. And that's another thing I kind of wanted to do was kind of format it in that way. So
have you done a episode where a video where you've stitched all the episodes together with seamless kind of cuts and stuff?
I haven't, but I've like
really?
had the idea of possibly doing that for a very long time. And the reason why I haven't pulled the trigger is because I was kind of thinking that would be fun to do, but I didn't want to sabotage the individual videos, because the first episode of Pokemon Cardinal I've had as like my channel trailer on my channel since it basically came out. And I've just watched that steadily increase in views, like since it came out like 2.5 years ago. And I think the fact that it's had that long staying power is awesome. And so I just kind of want to let them like basically let people watch the videos that are already there and sort of experience it in that original episodic format. Yeah.
It was cool that the episode that I voiced in came out on my birthday, coincidentally. That was really cool for me.
I do remember that, yeah.
So I was happy about that.
And it's funny because your character that you voiced was named Leon, I believe. Or was it Leon or Leo? I think it was Leon,
no,
because
it was definitely Leon,
shortly thereafter we got a real Leon.
Oh yeah, it was before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, good times.
And I think our lovely channel member, Lucas Gates, has asked, basically, is there any idea for a sequel to that? And I think that applies to all of us in our projects. Is there any thoughts towards a sort of sequel or a second or a follow-up?
What's funny is that I literally just, in a video recently, and quote-unquote announced that I'm making a follow-up region, right? And everybody's like, I was like, this entire video, there are hints to what the new region is. And I had a Canada Goose Pokemon in the video that I made or redesigned. And everybody's like, oh, Canada, you're making a region based on Canada. And like, that was like that was the number one kind of comment in that video. But I didn't want to say it, but I really wanted to say, guys, do you not know of, Pokemon Cardinal?
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to do that if you already did that.
I think we've all sort of talked about this individually, and we've had characters cross over, that our three and Lockstin's worlds are all set sort of somewhere in the same Fakemon Pokeverse. I think there's been crossover on all four of those regions. I'm certainly like one and done. I'm happy with the one I did. I'm good. I might do a video about like megas or something at some point for that, because I think it might be. There was one Pokemon in particular everyone's like, dude, when is this evolving? But like, other than that, I'm set. But Hoops, I assume you're like gonna do a sequel at some point?
Well, there's not gonna be a direct sequel to Cardinal in terms of being just like the same story and the same characters, because I kind of figured, like, for as much as I love what I created there, the thing that Pokemon Cardinal did for me moving forward was that, like, it basically showed me that I could make something like that. Because at first, when I was making that, it was such a, like, I didn't really have any, like, basis to base what I was making it on. And it was, like, a lot of work. And so I had a lot of times where I was like, am I crazy making this? Like, am I biting off more than I can chew? Like, I had that thought a lot. And so when it was like finally done, I was like, holy cow, I can do this. And as I was watching the episodes go live and people were watching them, I started seeing things that like, oh, if I did this again, I would do this. Or I started seeing things that I could do better. So I am working on a spiritual successor, you could say, but it's not like related to
Pokemon
Cardinal. It's its own thing that I am making with the experience I gained from that project.
Have you seen anything in either mine, Ron's, Loxton's, or like just anyone else's Fakemon content storytelling that you've seen that you're like, that I wish I had done that for Pokemon Cardinal. I would maybe do that in the future, kind of thing.
We didn't really do anything different that he didn't do.
I'm interested. I don't know.
Well, it's funny that Ron brought up his Canada Geese Pokemon because that's my biggest regret with Pokemon Cardinal is I didn't make a Canada Geese Pokemon. I didn't even like think about that at the time because I wasn't like thinking about like, oh, I'm going to make a bunch of just like Canadian Pokemon in the way that you see like British Pokemon, a Galar, or Hawaiian Pokemon. Like I did do some of those, but also I was just like kind of making ideas that I thought were cool. And that's another thing that like that's not to say that that's bad because I think that has its place and that you see that in like earlier.
That's
Pokemon
literally how Pokemon is. Like, yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I also saw myself sort of learning a lot about how to like make Fakemon and like sort of integrate them and make them fit and kind of like I learned a lot about the creative side of it through that process. So
yeah. It was definitely a project that, I mean, yeah, I think we all learned a lot while making our regions. I think it's time to generate a Pokemon.
I was just thinking that. It's like we've done this podcast together before. That's wild.
So if anybody's new here, we generate a Pokemon in the middle of the podcast, and we start talking about whatever we want based on that Pokemon. You ready?
No.
Ready.
Bergmite. We never get a popular Pokemon. Bergmite's cool, though. I'm a huge fan of Avalugg, contrary to popular opinion. I'm a huge fan of Avalugg. Like, I'm a big Avalugg fan.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why people hate it. I literally don't understand why people don't like Avalugg.
It's coffee table.
Tell me why you hate Avalugg, Toby. And what's so bad about it being a table?
I wanted a Pokemon, not a coffee table.
It is a Pokemon. It's a living table.
Okay. But it wouldn't be a good table because everything would slide off it.
So it's not an actual table. Is a table actually a table if you can't put things on the table?
It's a bad table. That's where I'm at. I wish I could give you a more articulate response, but it might literally just be that.
How do you change a person's mind? Like, so there's so many times where I want to change like Toby's mind on a Pokemon, but it never works. It never happens. So what's the point of even having the
I'll tell you what.
I want to know if there's a way to do it.
There was one time that I thought Avalugg was really cool, which was in Legends Arceus when that giant, noble one, and I was like, "What is this? Is the new Avalugg? Oh my!" And I knew the noble Pokemon might be a bit bigger, but then I like walked down the hill and I was like, "Oh, it's table." And then I was like, okay, never mind. But that one is like the coolest Avalugg I've ever seen.
Well, it objectively is the coolest Avalugg, yes.
Yes.
Every noble Pokemon is the coolest
but
of their
it's
species.
like Avalugg was able to, like, if there's 1,008 Pokemon, for that moment, Avalugg managed to jump to like the high hundreds, you know what I mean? Like, it did good stuff in that moment.
Yeah. So Jan in the chat is like, you don't change people's minds, you only exchange opinions with others. The world is about diversity. Yeah, but also you can change people's minds. Like what does that mean? Like, yeah, I agree, but also people change their minds. That happens. I want to know what triggers people to change their mind usually, especially when it comes to Pokemon. Like, maybe I'll ask people, like, make a video asking everybody, like, when was the time I changed your mind on a Pokemon and how did I do it? Because I'm a big fan of changing people's minds.
What I don't understand is, so Avalugg got this new regional form, the Hisuian Avalugg, and it appears in the snow and ice biome, which would make more sense to me if the regular form was the Hisuian form. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it becomes less icy in the snow world, so I found that a little bit confusing. But so what is it now? It's like rock and ice or ground and ice?
Well, wouldn't it need to be more icy if it's in a hotter place? That way it stays icy?
I suppose.
He's got you there.
That's it. And that's how you change someone's mind. You know what? Avalugg is okay. It's
logic and facts.
It might be in my top 10. You know what? Wow. It's my new favorite. I'm changing my mascot tomorrow.
Table Keeper Toby. Toby Table? The Toby Table. That's a good name for a channel.
Welcome to the Toby Table.
Toby Table.
And it's just me skidding across the camera. Just,
like that would...
just unable to stay in frame.
I mean, it makes me think of like a cooking channel, obviously. And then I actually, like, we have a guest here. I wonder, what kind of food do you like, Koi? What kind of food do you like?
I like all food. I am not picky at all. I love Mexican food. I love pasta, so I like a lot of Italian food. Okay. I will eat most anything.
What's your family's background? Like, does it have any specific culture or food related to it?
Ooh, that's actually an interesting story because I've lived in the United States. That's where I'm from. But
really,
yes. Do I look like? Do I look different? But the history of my family traces back to England, and it actually traces back to this place called, I'm probably going to mispronounce it, but I think it's called Derbyshire, and that is where Ace Trainer Liam
Derbyshire,
right
yeah.
That's like, and it's a town called Denbigh is where my ancestry goes back to, and yeah, that's where Liam lives. So
that is probably Liam.
Wait, little story.
Do you know how many generations ago they came to America?
So it was my great-great-great-grandma that came to America first. Yeah.
Wait, so now you're a West Coast guy. Do you know if they lived in the West Coast this whole time? Or, I mean, I assume they didn't a few generations ago come to the West Coast. I assume they...
Yeah, so it's a really cool story because basically my great-great-great-grandma, she came on the boat, as you do.
On the Mayflower.
On the Mayflower, yeah. And then she came to... So I live in Utah. That's the state I live in. And so she docked off at New York or on the East Coast, wherever she was, came all the way from there to Utah. And where I live now, the town that I live in, is where she, like, came to. So I've lived in the town that I live in for, like, my family's lived here for a long time, basically.
Do you know what brought her out to Utah?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was basically like, the thing that you probably think of when
it's
you think
Mormons.
of Utah.
It's a Mormon thing.
Mormons, yes. Yeah. So she decided to join the church when she lived in England, and she came over on the boat to live in Utah because, like, it was around that time, I believe, when Utah was being, like, settled as a state. So that was like the place to be.
Yeah.
The live comment that says, "I thought I got Mormon energy from Hoops." What was that? Just like Mormon really energy. Overly polite energy.
Not gonna lie. I got it too.
What does that even
is your family still Mormon?
Know.
Is your family Mormon or?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Because I was gonna ask, like, because if you weren't, I was gonna ask, hey, like, what is it like living in Utah if you're not Mormon? But there barely are any non-Mormons.
Right.
How many Mormons are in Utah, percentage-wise?
It actually has gone down in recent years, but I think it's still somewhere in the neighborhood of like overall as a whole, I think it's like 75-80% or something like that.
That's all. I've never heard of any state that other than Utah that has a majority of a specific denomination. Are you? But probably that's a common problem.
We cannot talk about this if it's something you don't want to talk about. Are you a Mormon?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Nice. Yeah.
Should we ask him Mormon questions?
I don't know.
I feel like
I'm not qualified.
Like,
no, he's answering. He's the one answering them, not you two.
Oh, okay.
There's
don't ask me any more
questions. There's a lot of like I don't know, like stereotypes and like preconceived notions about Mormons, and so I don't know. I'm not gonna go like preaching to like the masses or whatever, but I always feel like people have a different idea in their head of what Mormons are like than what we really are like.
Well, I guess the stereotype is that they do not like hoops and or hip hop, but you do.
True. Yes, we're typically anti those things. No,
wait. So do you actually really like hoops and hip hop?
Yeah, that's why I named my channel that, and because I was dumb 18-year-old and I didn't know what I was doing, so I just came up with the first name that popped into my head.
But it's your name now. It's Hoops. It works. It's good.
Right. Yeah. Like people have asked me like, oh, like it has nothing to do with Pokemon. Are you gonna change it or whatever? And
It's long.
I was
It's a long name.
I've thought about that, like, because I'm obviously more, like, I know what I'm doing now, but also that's my name. Like, people know me as that, and I've sort of like people also embrace the name too. Like, people know me affectionately as Hoops, and that's who I am. So,
did you ever think of having like Hooper as your mascot? I know it's not where you get Hoops from, but like
Hoopa didn't even exist when I created the channel. That's how old I am, dude.
Whoa.
So I did not. I wasn't able to do that.
But
People have also asked me.
You could now have it. If you wanted.
I could, yeah. I've thought about that, but like, I can't go away from Cyndaquil. Like, Cyndaquil is my boy.
That's fair. Yeah, you and Cyndaquil is like iconic as well.
Dip in the chat was like, aren't two of the commandments in Mormonism, thou shalt not hoop and thou shalt not hip hop?
Yeah, I'm a bad boy.
So is hip hop your favorite genre still?
I would say it was in my early years, and I still do like it a lot, but I'm more, I guess, well-rounded now. I listen to like pretty much everything. The only thing I don't really listen a lot to is like heavy rock, but otherwise I listen to
heavy rock. Is that? Yeah. Isn't heavy rock just metal?
Yeah, basically, like if it's like classic rock, like the songs we all know and love, like, I don't know, just like the classic stuff, I enjoy that. But like the heavier it gets, when it gets into like metal and then like screamo territory, I like it less and less.
Yeah, because like rock is my favorite genre, I would say. But then I still like metal instrumentally, but not like I don't listen to a lot of metal songs, but if like there's like a metal cover of a track that I like, I usually enjoy it a lot. But then once it comes like death metal, heavy metal, then I'm not a big fan. But I still appreciate. It's still like talented. You have to be talented to do that stuff. So I still appreciate it, I guess. Like my least favorite genre, or at least the one that I don't seem to have a lot of appreciation for, is probably country music, honestly.
And see, I was just gonna say, I grew up on country music. Living in Utah, living in the West.
You look like that too.
and like recently, now that I'm sort of like my own man and I'm on my own, I've sort of like gone back to my roots, and I like a few years ago started sort of like picking up and listening to some of the songs that like my parents would play in the car on road trips. And now it's like country is like up there as like my favorite genre, like, honestly.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And I know that's like divisive, because it's like it's sort of an acquired taste, but
it's so easy to listen to though. It's like I don't understand why people it's hated, but I guess it's just because you can't relate to it. Just like that's the reason I don't enjoy it that much. I literally cannot relate to anything that is said and or any of the
Can you give me an example of country music? Because I feel
in a second. But it's funny because I listen to music for the melody and stuff, and so like I never listen to like the lyrics. So like, I never listen for the lyrics. So it's like that shouldn't be the reason why I don't like country music. I really think it's just the stigma of country music. Like as a person from like from New York City, for example, an immigrant family, it doesn't feel right to me to enjoy it. Like it feels like honestly, it's just the stereotypes where it's like it feels like a country music star, at least from the 40s, would maybe hate me for who I am, so I don't want to listen to that. But that's obviously not the case. It's just I don't know. It's not comfort food for me. Well, I assume it's a comfort. Like country music is probably very comforting, I assume, to a lot of people, to a lot of Americans. So I hope I can enjoy it in the futures.
Yeah, and like honestly, like a lot of why I enjoy it is kind of that comfort factor, because it's sort of. It reminds me of like my upbringing basically, and like where I grew up, because like growing up in Utah, like the other thing about my family in particular, not only living out in the West, is that my family is super big into horses. So I grew up on I kind of a farm. We didn't have like cows or anything, but we had a lot of horses, and we had pigs.
What'd you do with the
time.
Horses?
We ride them all the time.
So like, okay, got it. You didn't,
and so I grew up in that kind of like farm country atmosphere where we wake up early and we go bale hay for the horses, and we throw it on a trailer and we like go horse riding and all that stuff. So like that like all the stuff that country music is about is like what I grew up in, and so it's like I as a person, like, you don't relate to it, I relate to it a lot. So
yeah, it makes sense. There's no reason for you not to enjoy it. And yeah, again, like I said, it's like there's nothing offensive about the melodies. Like, let's say, I understand why someone wouldn't enjoy heavy metal, for example, because it probably is grating to a lot of people. But like, there's nothing. It's like some of the most normal sounding music, I guess, country music. So it's like, it's like macaroni and cheese.
Yeah. Yeah, and Honey Badger's saying old country is different than new country, which is true, because like, I don't really like the newer stuff quite as much because a lot of it is like more poppy, and not like true country. The true country stuff is what I like. So I do listen to a lot of older people, but there's newer people that have that like authentic sound that's really good too. And
that's how you know it's a nostalgia thing, right? Was just like these new kids with their new it's not real country music.
Yeah, that's like my cue that I'm just like getting old.
Well, a similar thing would be like, let's say, hip hop, where like I'm not a hip hop enjoyer, but I enjoy way more older hip hop.
He's right there.
Than like newer hip hop. And I feel like there are a lot of people. He's right there. I don't enjoy hoops.
Right there.
I honestly do not.
Yeah, dude,
it is funny. Like when I first like encountered your channel, and other than the remixes, like I really do not care for hoops and hip hop. like I really do. I don't play I don't consume basketball, and I do not consume hip hop. So like originally, I'm like, something's funny about this name. Something I don't resonate with the name. But obviously now it's the opposite. But like I was actually like coming onto this podcast, I was gonna like ask you, sell basketball and hip hop to me so I can understand it, because I would love to. I always love to hear the perspective of someone who has the literal opposite perspective on things like hoops and hip hop.
Well, it starts off. You take this ball and you like put it in the basket, and that scores you points. And
I thought you used a rock.
That's what they did in the old days, but then people were getting like hit in the head, and there were a lot of concussions and stuff.
Pretty entertaining.
But no, the hoops actually, like in a very roundabout poetic way, actually sort of feeds into my channel, even though I'm not doing basketball stuff, because I started getting into basketball when I was like 11 years old, and it was one of those things that just like hooked me when I discovered it. And like my whole thing from about like 11 years old, probably up until around about the time more or less that I started getting into the stuff that would become my YouTube channel, as far as like video making and stuff like that, was I wanted to be an NBA player. Like I was like all in, I wanted to do it. And obviously that didn't work out, but like what I learned from that experience is like, if you have something you want to make happen that's like one of those lofty goals, it's like you gotta really be all about it. And so like,
true.
I took the experience that I got from like pursuing that goal and sort of applied it to YouTube, and that actually helped me a lot because I understood what it took to sort of like make something like this happen. So it actually does fit in sort of a roundabout way.
No, it makes total sense. What's funny, well, first, how tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
Okay. Close to basketball.
How tall are you on Tinder? It's a different question.
Well,
I just wonder.
I'm not Tinder on Tinder at the moment, but
on Hinge, Bumble.
I don't embellish. I'll say I'm 5'10".
What sucks is that for me, it's the so I'm 5'8", right? And if I put 5'8", people think I'm a 5'7". Like that's how, because like that's how it works.
Okay.
And then
I think
I put
5'9".
I was gonna put, so for a few months I put 5'9" because of that. I'm like, you have to. It's just the rule. Put 1 inch because that's what they assume. Like it will give me it will be accurate if I put 5'9" because they will assume 5'8", which is accurate, right? So I put 5'9", but then I'm like, okay, but if someone's 5'9", they would put 5. If someone was 5'9", they would put 5'9", because if you're 5'9", that's like just behind that's like one away from the threshold of 5'10", which is like more like average at least in America, right? So it's like if you're 5'9", you would put 5'9", because you wouldn't lie about 5'10". I don't know. It was even more confusing because I put 5'9" for some reason.
Well, I feel like you can give yourself an inch because shoes give you an inch, and so you have that
True.
like cop out. But yeah, being 5'10", it's like the average male height is like 5'9", so I'm like 1 inch above that, and that's the last time I looked into it. That's what I.
Well,
heard.
definitely not in the world, but definitely.
Yeah, in like in America, yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm 1 inch above. I can live with that. And I'm too far away to say like I'm 6 foot because that's like a whole 2 inches. So
is 5'10" average for an Anglo-Saxon male?
I haven't looked into Anglo-Saxon males.
I mean,
Speaking as an authority on Anglo-Saxon males,
two Anglo-related people.
I can tell you, I have no idea. I have no earthly idea.
Oh, you're not even Anglo-Saxon, Toby, unless you're half.
Wait,
what are you? You're Greek.
I'm quarter Greek. So there's
quarter Greek.
The other 3/4, I think, are just British, English.
Quarter.
I don't know, but yeah.
Because that's from your mother, right?
Yeah. My mum was, my mum's half Greek Cypriot, and my grandpa's Greek Cypriot. Yeah. That's it.
That's crazy.
Quarter.
I really connect with my Greek side now whenever I go past a Greek restaurant. I'm like, I want Greek food just because I want it, just because it makes me feel part of a thing, but also it is delicious. They have good breads. they do good stuff with bread.
What's funny is that Greek, Turkish, I'd say is like street food in America. So it's like...
Yeah. Turkish food is also fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, I love Turkish food. Baklava is like my favorite pastry or dessert.
I don't want to derail because I want to keep the conversation where it is, but like I'm back on my diet, so there's like no carbs at the moment, and the one thing that I could so go for is like baklava. That would make me so happy. Honestly,
I get it on my birthday. Like I go to a Turkish, like at least the last few years, for either my birthday or someone's birthday in the family, we would go to this Turkish restaurant, and instead of cake, we would have baklava. So, but then at home we would have actual cake. So you gotta have cake.
Speaking not as both an Anglo-Saxon authority and an authority on Mormonism, what is your opinion on Avalugg? Because we didn't get that. We've moved way too far away from Avalugg, and we did not spend enough time on it.
Avalugg would... We actually...
I want separately the Anglo-Saxon opinion and the Mormon opinion.
Wait, first, we did not generate Avalugg. We generated Bergmite. So we have to talk about
sorry. You can talk about Bergmite. Apologies.
Talk about Tell me Bergmite things.
Well, I really enjoy Bergmite. I think it's got a really nice design, and I've always been a fan. And I've always been a fan of Avalugg, too. I've got to say to Toby that you owe it some respect because it's not a table. It is an aircraft carrier.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
If you take a second to learn something for once.
It can't take off. It can't fly.
Wait, can you not take... No, it's aircraft carrier, you weirdo.
Oh, wait, you're right. I see. I'm thinking of the helicarrier from Marvel. That's what I think of.
Which is an aircraft carrier.
When you say that, it's technically an aircraft carrier. Yeah, this is true.
But like, no. But I assume you would appreciate the fact that it is an aircraft carrier boat. Like, isn't that cool? Like, iceberg. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, Toby.
I don't know. Are aircraft carriers cool? Aircraft.
They are
cool.
considered some of the coolest things on the planet.
Are they?
At least mechanically.
It's a runway in the ocean.
They're very imposing.
It's
like, I have megalophobia and like semi-thalassophobia, so like I'm afraid of big things in the sea. And if I was near an aircraft carrier, I would freak out.
It would have to be at least 5'8" to scare me.
It is definitely.
Oh, in that case. Yeah.
So I guess I can't, but okay. I mean, I can, apparently.
Going back to the whole Avalugg discussion, though, we were talking about changing someone's opinion on stuff. And the thing that actually does and has changed my opinion a lot on Pokemon that like I'll not like at one point, but then I grow to appreciate or like a lot is like learning more about them, like learning that Avalugg is an aircraft carrier and not just a coffee
You're
table.
getting Ron so excited right now. Like, careful, you're
you
going to
like,
rock it off.
I understand.
Well, like one that comes to my mind, and I have no idea if this is like the intent of what Game Freak was thinking, was Aromatisse. Obviously, it is really ugly and bad. But I did a video like a few years ago on just like, I had the idea to like talk about why unpopular Pokemon are actually really cool and like look for cool stuff.
Dude, that's literally what I did, and you're gonna say the exact same story. So Aromatisse is my least favorite Pokemon. I made a Pokemon defending unpopular Pokemon. Aromatisse was there. We talked about, I assume both of us just talked about everything about its origin, and Aromatisse apparently has literally the most deep origin ever, because it's like, it's just a mixture of so many cool things, or like that work together.
Well, what I discovered, and like I said, I don't know if this was the intent, but what I found in my research was that obviously it's got the Plague Doctor stuff, but Plague Doctors weren't even like actual doctors most of the time, and they weren't really like getting paid necessarily. So a lot of times
they were doctors, I guess. Doctors were inexperienced in general, relative to our doctors.
but like a lot of times they had other occupations, and so like to me that's like that's where the Can Dancer thing came into play. So basically like Aromatisse is like this plague doctor who's actually a Can Dancer, and it's just like this whole historical commentary on like France and Europe put into a Pokemon, which I personally think is really, really cool.
And the thing that combines them is scent and smells, because it's the perfume Pokemon, and plague doctors would put perfume in their beak, or like and good smelling flowers.
And that type of thing where it's like you take two things that are completely unrelated in every way, shape, and form, and you link them together in this like creative and seamless way. That is one of the things I love most about Pokemon when they do that. Like it doesn't happen in every Pokemon design, but when it does, it's just like the coolest thing ever.
But what's funny is that for the same exact reason as the reason why you brought it up, I always try to bring up Aromatisse too, but then I realized Aromatisse is still my least favorite Pokemon, so it didn't work. And then it proves Toby's point.
I mean, you guys can say all this, but I'm still like, I don't want to put Aromatisse or Bergmite on the thumbnail. I'm really struggling here, guys. Give me something to work with. Someone mentioned Cyndaquil earlier, right?
Well, we're gonna actually put put
Hoops on the thumbnail.
Yeah, we'll put Hoops in
there. Yeah.
You could connect Bergmite to Cyndaquil though, possibly, because Cyndaquil used to have like a different design, like its beta design. It got leaked, and instead of fire, it had like spikes, which we never learned what type it was supposed to be, but those could have been like icicles or something. So
true.
And you kind of took that idea and ran with it for Norclo, right?
I did, but it was like, that was unrelated. I don't think that was like known at the time, so that was kind of a coincidence. But but nice. Yeah, any I did make an ice type Cyndaquil, which
you mentioned that there was a little bit on our we have a little form that we make our guests fill out, and I think, did you mention you have a project in the works, something coming up?
Yeah. So, as we sort of touched on a little bit ago, I've been working on a spiritual successor project to Pokemon Cardinal for a while, and I am basically, the theme of it is just using what I learned from that project to sort of do it again, but do it better. And so I've been working on it for a while, and I haven't really said anything about it yet, and obviously it's been a bit because I started working on it shortly after the episodes for Cardinal started coming out.
Oh wow.
But I am excited to say that there will be some stuff said about it pretty soon. And
announcement of an announcement. We got an exclusive run.
Teaser.
and
put it in the title.
The timing of this worked out pretty good. But it's funny because I've specifically kept it very like secretive, just because I wanted it to be a surprise to everyone, like viewers and like other YouTubers and stuff. I just wanted it to be like low key, and so the only people that know about it are me, obviously, the people that have been working on it with me, some IRL family and friends, and the only other person outside of that who's seen anything about it is Toby, because he twisted my arm one day, and
literally,
yeah, and
okay, yeah.
So he kind of knows, but he knows a little bit of it. So
yeah,
isn't it funny that the only thing that I'm thinking of is like, hopefully it's not something that impedes something that I'm doing. So I kind of need to know just in case it interferes with something that I'm doing. I'm a very petty guy.
I don't think it would. Like, I feel like
you don't know. You don't know what I'm doing.
You're right. I don't, but I do. I feel like when you see it, especially after this conversation, it'll feel like a very me project.
Yeah, cool.
And so I don't think it'll cross over into you.
To be fair, what I am doing, literally only I could do, because it's like, I mean, you'll see. So it's like, yeah, I'm not worried about that. That's awesome.
Yo, I just noticed Dark and Windy's in the chat right now. Shout out to Dark and Windy. He's
definitely working on it. He's laughing.
So, and he did a bunch of stuff with me on Pokemon Cardinal and did a bunch of artwork for the Pokemon and stuff. So
very good job.
He's awesome.
Lots of really cool artwork in there. Go on.
You're one of the few who like released all your Pokemon as PNGs, right? Like,
I didn't I mean, I did put them on a Google Drive and said, "Here's the Google Drive." So technically,
so that's literally that. Yeah.
So yes, you released them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No, because I thought originally it was like a wiki or something like Dark and Windy does, but no. Okay.
I would love to make a wiki at some point. It's just like a whole other thing to do, but the idea of it is really cool. So
I don't, because well, first, only patrons have access to my PNGs, and second, yeah, because I want people to watch the videos instead of the wiki.
I actually...
True.
One of the reasons I don't really want PNGs out there of mine is I would like to... I would really like to maybe use some of these creatures in the future in some way or another, in some form, in some creative project. And I really don't want to like I'm happy for other people to draw them, but the idea of like putting the kind of official art out there, I don't know. It just you
didn't even make the art.
Keep it. I know, but like I've I paid for it.
Here's my philosophy on that. First of all, I like making like posts on stuff on like Twitter and Instagram too, but in terms of like putting it out there, just like widespread, like have at it. I've had those same kind of thoughts that you have had, but then I think, well, I'm doing that exact same thing with all of Pokemon stuff. So like, who am I to really restrict the use of this as long as it's just like personal use, and stuff like that. So I'm just going to put it out there because I'm not one to like be in a position when my whole YouTube channel is based on putting Pokemon art and footage in my videos. So.
And it's funny because like I totally would want Game Freak to be even more transparent about like their process and their art and all that. That would be cool. So like, I guess it would be hypocritical.
It's definitely hypocritical. I think my fear is just that once it's done, it's done. You can't bottle that genie again. They're out. They're gone.
Speaking of which, I assume you have an OnlyFans?
Oh yeah, but it's exclusive to
Mormons.
I've only yeah, Mormon OnlyFans, yeah.
So links in the description for his OnlyFans and his YouTube channel, right? I mean, which one should be first in the description?
Let's do YouTube channel. The people who who want to access the OnlyFans, they'll know where to go.
Exactly.
They'll know where to go. It's like a mystery. You gotta find the clues to get to the prize.
To see the hoops and hip hop. So Toby, remember to put that in the description?
I'm going to put his YouTube channel in the description. I'm probably not going to put anything else there. Just the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Fair.
And people should go and click and watch. Your videos genuinely are amazing. I am so proud of, again, like I get it. It's all my doing and I'm amazing, but you put in some work too. And what you have done, I genuinely think is incredible. Well, seriously, you deserve everything you're having at the moment, man. And I'm just happy for you, dude. I'm just happy to see you thriving and glowing and doing well.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you a lot too, and I appreciate both of you. And I'm just happy that I got to like somehow through all this time we've been doing this, like somehow I ended up as like one of the OGs, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And I got to work with both of you.
We're all still here. It's just nice.
It's just been a lot of fun.
That is really cool.
Yeah. I'm very happy that we're all still kicking. So,
because I do associate like YouTube with like nostalgia. So, that is cool.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the end. Bye.
Bye.
Bye everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
No, you're not allowed to do that. It's only us.